This is Raqqa, a city in ruins. In every direction, there's devastation. But who's to blame? Unlike elsewhere in Syria, very little of the destruction was caused by Russian or regime forces. Here, it was mostly due to the United States and its allies. Amnesty International says US-led airstrikes destroyed countless homes and, shockingly, killed at least 1,600 civilians. The US military has only admitted to killing 180 civilians, roughly 10% of Amnesty's total.
We are talking about airstrikes, which should be fairly precise. So if buildings after buildings were destroyed with entire families inside, something must have gone wrong, and that something must be investigated.
Raqqa was captured by Daesh in 2014. The US-led coalition began bombing Raqqa 3 years later in an operation to remove the terror group from the city. But despite the victory, Daesh remains a threat. On Monday, the group released a video apparently showing its leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. After multiple attempts on his life, Baghdadi seems to have survived. Amnesty says the aerial bombardment of Raqqa was disproportionate and indiscriminate. The human rights group says the US was responsible for 90% of all airstrikes during the 4-month campaign. It says the coalition fired 30,000 rounds of artillery into the city.
That's tantamount to indiscriminate strikes, because each artillery rounds will have a margin of error of about 100 meters in a city where 10 meters can make the difference between a house full of civilians and the HQ of ISIS.
Amnesty says it spent months in the city collecting data and interviewing survivors, including relatives of the Badran family. Everyone seen here was killed in a coalition airstrike, according to the rights group. It alleges 39 members of the family died in the attack. It seems civilians in Raqqa had an impossible choice: leave and risk being killed by Daesh, or stay and risk being killed by airstrikes. The US-led coalition is still investigating cases of civilian deaths, but it rejects Amnesty's findings and says it took great care to minimize the danger to civilians.
I would put the blame on ISIS for destroying the city of Raqqa. We liberated the city of Raqqa. The city deserves better, and we're going to try to provide that.
But when liberation looks like obliteration, should the US face consequences? Haider Abbasi, The Newsmakers.